So I really didn't know if I was going to share this story because it's pretty personal and might make me sound a little crazy. But I found an energy healer while I was living in Hoi An, Vietnam. And after two sessions with her, I finished three paintings that I'd been stuck on for weeks. And I think it completely changed the way I approach my creative practice. So going into it, I wasn't expecting much. I've had Reiki before. I thought this would probably just be a relaxing, nice experience. And it was, but it was also so much more than that. And it went so much deeper than Reiki that I've had before. So, for the past couple of years, I've been doing a lot of self healing after a really difficult period of my life. I've been really focused on meditation and yoga and journaling and energy work, pretty much anything that helped me understand myself and my nervous system. But when I got to Hoi An, I had this feeling that I'd reached a point where I couldn't quite move forward on my own anymore. I just felt a little bit creatively blocked. And I wasn't depressed. I actually felt happier than I had in years. But I just felt kind of stuck. So I could tell that there was something inside of me that wasn't flowing properly. So one afternoon, I was sitting in a cafe and I did a quick Google search for energy healers nearby. And I found this one woman whose website really resonated with me. And I ended up booking a session for that day. And honestly, I went in with pretty low expectations. I was expecting to feel relaxed and maybe more calm after the session. And the session itself was pretty uneventful. I laid there on the massage bed for about an hour while she did her energy healing and sound bowl healing. And after the session, we were sitting in her living room and she just starts telling me about all the things that she saw and experienced while doing this energy healing on me. And it kind of blew my mind. So, first of all, she totally found my injuries in my left knee and my right ankle. And she said that it felt like the energy didn't want to go through those points. And that was one thing that was making it hard for me to ground. My root chakra was kind of offline. And she said after she put a lot of energy into it, she just felt a lot of sadness stuck in my root chakra. She described my heart center as being almost completely shut down, which honestly made sense after everything I'd been through. And one thing she said about my throat chakra really has been sticking with me. She said that when she was working on it, it let out this really long, loud scream, which in her experience was as close as she's gotten to hearing something audibly while doing energy work. And it just kept screaming and screaming until eventually it settled into a calm humming sound. And that just really resonated with me because I think for a long time I'd been carrying things around that I hadn't allowed myself to express. And she also described things that she pulled out of different energy centers of mine that related to different sides of my family or ancestral parts of myself. And she told me how each of my energy centers were doing and whether the energy was flowing well or not. And she had images and feelings associated with each energy center. And it was just so fascinating to me. And turns out pretty much all of my energy centers were pretty heavily blocked in one way or another, other than my third eye and my crown chakras. So I found that pretty interesting. And so a few days after that first session, I went back for a shadow work workshop that she was teaching with a healer friend of hers. And that experience was really intense and affected me probably even more than the first energy healing session, just because it was centered around meeting and communicating with younger parts of myself that I had neglected or pushed away. And it was super emotional. One of the exercises involved speaking directly to these shadow versions of myself, and I ended up apologizing to them for neglecting them and telling them that I wanted to take care of them now. And I was kind of scared that they weren't going to want to hang out with me or trust me. And that was one of the moments in this workshop that I just completely broke open and was just like crying. And another part of the workshop that was really interesting involved just being held like a little baby. And it sounds simple, but I don't think I had realized how deeply I needed to feel safe enough to just let everything come up. And after this workshop, I was so exhausted for days. I felt like I had run a marathon. And I went in for my second energy healing session with Dani about a week after that shadow work workshop. And a lot of interesting things came up again. I guess I was hoping that the things that she had cleared out and unblocked in the first session would have led to my energy flowing very well and strongly. But no, it turns out there was a whole other layer of things to deal with. It wasn't as blocked as in the first session, but there were deeper layers of blockages that she found. But there's one thing she shared with me that I haven't stopped thinking about. And it's that when she started off this session, she was told to flip me over so I'm lying on my stomach. And she didn't do this physically, she did this energetically, I guess. And she said that underneath my heart area was an egg. And she didn't know what to do with it at first, so she put it aside. And then later in the session, she came back to it and figured out that it wanted to go back to my heart area. Um, and once she had figured that out, it opened up, and she had no idea what was going to be inside. But it turns out it was a bunch of flowers. And these flowers went all over my body, up and down my legs, and just completely covered me. And she said that this egg of flowers had the feeling of being a gift that was for myself that I had postponed for the sake of someone else's life. And as soon as she said that, I knew exactly what she meant, because for years I had poured so much energy into someone else's dreams and had quietly postponed my own goals and creative life. So even though I've been making art again for over a year, I think some part of me still hadn't fully accepted that it was finally safe to create just for myself. And when she was working on my sacral chakra, she said that she energetically pulled this thing out and realized that she was pulling out a whole person. And then she realized that it was a teenage version of me that had been living in my sacral energy center this whole time since then. And she said when she pulled her out, it felt like she just wanted to be held. And so she held her for a long time, like while she was still doing energy work on me. And there was so much sadness, and this teen version of me just wanted to be alone. And yeah, that version of me had gone through a lot of stuff around 16, 17. So I guess like something happened and she got stuck inside my energy center. I don't know how this stuff works, but she was living in there. And after she pulled her out and like gave her some attention and sent her away um, back to the right timeline, there was this well of raw creative energy that needed to be essentially set free, that had been pent up in my sacral chakra. And so she did that, and this energy was just flowing all over my body. And then the next day, I felt this huge shift. I had been stuck on these 3 paintings for weeks. Every time I looked at them, I was just overthinking what they needed to be finished. And I was trying to make them perfect and trying to infuse them with this healing energy that I thought wanted to be really calming and subtle. But the day after this second energy healing session, I was in my makeshift studio and I turned on some music that made me want to dance instead of my usual calm meditation music. And I just let myself move and I let the paint be messy. And I stopped worrying about whether every brush stroke carried some perfect healing intention. And I just painted. And that day I finished all 3 paintings and I added layers to 2 new smaller paintings. And these 3 finished paintings are a lot different from what I originally imagined. But when I look at them now, they feel alive and joyful and free. And I don't really know how to explain what happened, but I know that these energy healing sessions unblocked something in me. And I know that the shadow work helped me surface things that I had been pushing down and avoiding. And I think all of this just helped me give myself permission to stop trying to be perfect in my art practice. And one of the biggest realizations that I had throughout this whole experience was that healing isn't something we're meant to do completely alone. I'm someone who really enjoys being alone and is proud of the work that I can do on myself by myself. And I love doing that work. I love doing the meditation and journaling and self reflection and body work. But every once in a while, someone else can really help you reach a place that you couldn't quite get to by yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. So I'm still integrating everything that happened. I don't think this is some magical ending where suddenly all of my problems are solved. If anything, it reminded me that healing happens in layers. And it also reminded me that creativity doesn't always come from trying harder. Sometimes it just comes from feeling safe enough to stop holding yourself back.